Got a video today looking at Charles Manson and just trying to break him down and look at what I perceive in this specific interview as some maybe telling views or cues about his personality and whether he truly believes in what he's doing in terms of a lifestyle, or if this came as a result of, being forced into the situation or being a product of his environment. So here we go.
16 years ago, Charles Manson was sentenced to die in San Quentin's gas chamber for the Tate LaBianca murders. Within a year, Californians did away with capital punishment, so Manson's sentence was commuted to life in prison. Now there's a book, Manson in his own words, as told to Newell Emmons. Emmons is an ex-con who...
Oh, he loves that. The most dangerous man alive. You couldn't give him a better title. You couldn't give him a more respected title. He loves that. That just feeds his ego.
Who first met Manson while serving a short term in prison for car theft. And true to the unwritten code of the underworld, Manson cooperated on the book because he owed Emmons a favor. Today, correspondent Heidi Schulman went to talk with Manson to find out, after all these years, is there any remorse? Is he sorry? Does he feel guilty? Well, then we here on the Today Show staff debated among ourselves whether to air his answers. Half of our staff said absolutely not. Even though Manson doesn't make a cent off this book, let's not give him any publicity. But another half said yes, believing that some of you are as curious as some of us are. Well, at any rate, here is what Manson had to say.
Charles Manson is serving his life sentence for murder in San Quentin prison. That is where we talked with him and with Newell Emmons, author of Charles Manson.
If you look at Charles's eyes here, his eyebrows are raised in a way, and his eyes are telling the story is that he's not really concerned about anything, and he knows the cameras are there. He knows the situation, so he wants to portray how unconcerned and unbothered he is.
That is where we talked with him and with Newell Emmons, author of Charles Manson in his own words. Our conversation lasted an hour and a half, during which Manson was sometimes lucid, sometimes incoherent.
And so we have three different postures here. We have this gentleman over here, I forget his name, Neil or Newell or something like that. And then we have Charles, and then we have the anchor. She's kind of sitting forward, hunched over, interested, but like, it seems like cautious. Like she could jump back in any moment and do that. I'm gonna call him Neil. Neil seems like he's relaxed. He's not really concerned. He's giving off the sense that he's not concerned. He's sitting like this. I believe if he wasn't really that concerned, he would be sitting like this, going like that, right? So on and so forth. But there's some element of not wanting Charles to be able to just do something crazy. Like he doesn't totally trust Charles, so I have to stay a little bit open. But Charles is like, you know what I'm saying? And so Charles is completely open to the situation. So I think obviously Charles is the most relaxed in the situation. He's trying to, and for good reason, because he's trying to control. He's going to be trying to control the narrative here.
And frequently manipulative. From your words, as Mr. Emmons quotes them in this book, it's clear that you were guilty of murder, and yet he says in all his conversations with you, he never heard you express remorse. Have you never...
Looking down, thinking about what he's going to say, that is in line with being unbothered.
Ever felt it?
Remorse for what? You people have done everything in the world to me. Doesn't that give me equal right? I can do anything I want to you people at any time I want to, because that's what you've done to me. If you spit in my face and smack me in the mouth and throw me in solitary confinement for nothing, what do you think's going to happen when I get out of here?
This is a common thing that serial unalivers do. They have to justify, and this is the very unique way that he's justifying. Is, well, you did something to me first, so I have to do something to you. Well, Charles, typically the way it works is that you commit crime and then they arrest you for it, and anything that happens in there, I'm not saying it's always right, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, the reason that they do what they do to you sometimes is that you are not cooperating. what you have shown is a propensity to be, if you met Charles on the street, he would be that guy that taps you a bunch of times and tries to get you to agree with him. You know what I'm saying? Right. Because all these guys do this and that. And he would want to force you to agree with his opinion very strongly because he wants to have backup. He needs to have support for what he's doing or what he's saying.
Guilty. I wouldn't do anything that I felt guilty about.
You don't.
That and that's what you would say if you've done something that maybe you know is societally incorrect. That's what you would say.
Feel guilty at all.
There's no need to feel guilty. I haven't done anything I'm ashamed of. Maybe I haven't done enough. I might be ashamed.
That looked down and he was like, he was thinking a little bit more, but the way that he expressed, he thought about it. What have I done? But the response, because the way he thought about it, the way it looked in his eyes was, maybe did I do too much? He asked himself that question. Did I do too much? But then he jumped up and was like, maybe I didn't do enough because I have to hold a perception. I have to have you perceive me that I only do what I have to do in order to protect myself. That's what you guys are not getting or understanding. I had to do what I had to do.
Ashamed of that, for not doing enough, for not giving enough, for not being more perceptive, for not being aware enough.
But this is not even fire. This is not even fiery. This is not even speaking with conviction. So he doesn't even believe what he's saying.
For not understanding, for being stupid.
Trying to philosophize. He fancies himself.
Maybe I should have 400 or 500 people, then I would have felt better. Then when I felt like I really offered society something. You know, if I wanted somebody, I'd take this book and beat you to death with it, and I wouldn't feel a thing. It'd be just like walking to the drugstore. Do you feel blame? Are you mad? Do you feel like Woods about Francis? Get Francis.
Newell Emmons is an ex-convict.
He's trying to intimidate her, number one. Number two, because he knows she's probably concerned as he's looking at her. He's walking over here now to Neil to test Neil's energy. Neil doesn't, a little concerned from Neil, you know, in a sense of, I always got to watch my back, so doing that, you know, but it's extremely interesting. And the way they cut the interview, he didn't really respond. He just started talking in gibberish about whether or not he felt guilty is not the point. It was just gibberish at that point.
Who first met
He didn't answer the question.
Manson in prison in the 50s. He claims he wrote the Manson book after 7
Tightness in the shoulders from Neil, uncomfort.
years of conversation with Manson to show that he's no leader, no guru.
That side look over there like that. All right. Hey, at any moment, let's keep it cool.
But just a loser. Why should anyone care to read this book?
My purpose when I first started was virtually to destroy the myth. I show that he's not as complex or as the occult leader, or etc., that he's been projected as being.
I don't fit in society, and I am incompetent. I'm definitely incompetent.
No, that's not what I said.
Well, I say that. I say that. No, there's nothing wrong with being incompetent because you don't have to do as much. If you're competent, then you got a lot to do. See, but there's another aspect of it too.
Control the narrative.
I've learned to reflect. I just reflect back.
Cool.
I know I don't know. I know I'm stupid. I admit I'm a petty whatever. I've never been a success at anything. I even got to the point where I didn't want to be a success at anything. What would being a success, what does that mean, you know? Money? Oh, I've had all the money in the world 3 times and had to give it back. It's a stupid little game, you know? My awareness and my consciousness is not the same as somebody that goes to school and has a mom and dad. See, not having parents have left me in another dimension, so to say, you know? I don't have no bad going for nothing. I don't judge. I hardly even think about too much. It's hard for me to remember breakfast. In fact, if I didn't have 2 or 3 girls to help me, I would pretty much be lost and I wouldn't know what I'm doing.
You write in.
Philosopher Manson at his finest. trying to create two different worlds. The world that you guys live in that's fake, and the world that I live in is more real, it's more authentic. I deal with everyday issues, and that goes towards sort of like the primal unconscious instinct of an individual that's saying that maybe there's some things that I'm doing that society doesn't accept. I'm from the bottom. I am from the slums, and I am a product of my environment. And this is the real world. You guys button yourselves up and go to work every day, this, that, and the third, and you guys make it seem like you're happy, and you guys, and you don't even know that your husband is this, or you don't even know that your spouse is this, that, and the third, and you guys make it seem like you're happy with your kids. But I'm telling you, that's not the real world. You people are not as happy as you portray. And there's an assumption there always that individuals are playing life. There are some individuals that look, it's a difference between positive avoidance and negative avoidance. It just depends on how I choose to deal with some sort of traumatic event or some sort of negative situation that I don't want to respond in a certain way to. If I want to respond in a positive way, then I'll do that, and I probably won't talk about it. But just because I don't talk about it doesn't mean that I don't recognize it. It just means that I choose to do something different from you about it. And that's essentially what Charles is addressing, that he doesn't like. And so he feels like there are this side of people, average citizens, that do that. And so therefore he wants to be on the other side, where he believes the real world is.
And that in all your conversations with Charles Manson, he never expressed remorse.
Have you seen any today? I mean, perhaps he believes totally in his own mind that he's not guilty.
You guys got this stuck in your head that I've murdered somebody.
He cut in.
You've got it stuck in your brain that I murdered somebody. What do you want to call me a murderer for? I've never killed anyone.
Really mad.
I don't need to kill anyone. I think it. I have it here.
Who is this man you've been talking to?
Don't you understand? This is the philosophy. You're not getting it. You're so complex, but you don't get it. It's simple. That's why he's mad. But now the chair is pushed back, and now he's pacing, and he's a little bit nervous maybe about not being able to have all the attention on him, because she's facing Neil directly, and Neil is facing her head on. And so now Neil is facing like this, and he's talking to her head on. But Charles is like, hey, are you going to talk to me? This story is about me, not about him.
For 7 years.
Well,
Because I got to let y'all know.
to me, he's a convict that was a failure. I mean, he's the person that is not capable. I mean, and I still lay it to the way the book reads. It wasn't to start cleaning the earth or anything. I mean, there was a drug.
What he was playing with the microphone, he was acting as if he didn't know what he was doing, but he was really listening and trying to play unbothered.
Burn that he
But as soon as he tuned in to what Neil was saying, he stopped playing with it, put it in his pocket. I really wasn't messing with this.
initiated the first one, and the black guy, the first tone of violence that surfaced anyway, and then the death of Gary Hinman. There again, it was dope related, and it just kept feeding from there, and so it had no spiritual aspects at all. It was just bunch of guys out there, kids out there that was living and doing their own thing, and it used to be party time and play time, and then through drugs and the whole bit, well, it started getting a little bit nasty, a little bit meaner, and first thing you know, there's murders.
It's not real. But as you saw him talking about unaliving people, Neil describing it, Charles was drinking water, looking off into the distance, had his hands in his pocket. Yep, that's what I had to do. I had to do what I had to do.
In my whole life, I've burglarized a grocery store, stole some nickels and dimes, busted open a stamp machine, stole a few automobiles, and cashed a couple checks. I'm a petty car thief. Mm-hmm. I've been with bums and winos and all my life. This street is my world. I don't pretend to go uptown and be anything fancy. I can, but I find more real in the world that I'm in than I do the tinsel. And the real world is the one I have to deal with every day, you know. Believe me, if I started murdering people, there'd be none of you left.
And so at first he goes back because it's weird. See what I'm saying? He's talking out of both sides of his mouth. At first, I'm a simple guy. I'm not capable of doing these things just to be doing it. I really don't believe this. And so he breaks down and says, I'm nothing. I'm a simple guy. All I want to do is commit a little petty theft and get out of the way. But then at the very end, he has to look you dead in your eye and has to look and stand over you. And then I have to enforce that, hey, but I do unalive people, so not to mess with me. So it's like Neil was saying, man, it's a facade. Like, it's not real. I come in contact with individuals who feel the same way, and like when you get in arguments and altercations with individuals, the highest form of combat or a response when you feel threatened to unalive somebody. That's it. There's no magic behind that. That's it. That's where it stops. And so he took it to that place, and then there was no return. But he found other people who might look and say, well, why would you do this? Well, look, this is how we handle it. So as people, we look for societal confirmations. And so what he did was he had a cult of people around him who believed in the same way, to say, like, this is how I'm looking for a way to be respected, for justice to be given to me when I feel like somebody has taken something from me in society. And so now what he's doing is he's found people who think the same way and say, okay, this is how we deal with people taking something away from us, right? And I don't feel remorse because I feel you taking something away from me. That's really it. It's not that, I'm a cold-blooded unaliver. It's nothing like that. It's just that this is how I deal with things, and this is where I went here before, and this is where I go now, just to let people know that I'm serious and I mean business. So nothing behind it, just smoke and mirrors. But if you like this video, like, comment, share, subscribe, and until next time, take it easy.